Hi, everybody. Hello, listener. This is our first podcast. We have 4 episodes, and the theme is Leaders Beyond the Stage. We will talk about leadership, and we will have interesting speakers, inspiring guests to tell the story about leadership from their perspectives. Let me do a quick intro about myself. My name is Robin Wong. I was an executive coach and also been working in corporate for a long time. And now my passion is to try to help people to excel and be successful by fulfilling their potential. Today I have I'm co-host with Lena, right? Lena Wong, who is also a very special lady. She's a leader in her own right, and congratulations, she just won the a women of influence, right?
Yes, that's correct.
With American Chamber of Commerce this year, right?
Yes.
So very
Fresh from the oven. Yes.
So you like to do a quick intro?
Hi, everyone. I'm Lena Wong. I'm the founder and executive director of Hong Kong Entrepreneurs. I also have a business called Womenters. I'm the managing director there. I do a lot of work related to women empowerment. And I was previously in finance. So I guess I have pivot and made changes. I'm a mother of 2 girls. So I do a lot of work related to women. Aging from young girls all the way to mid-career women to senior women, try to help them in gender equality. So very happy to co-host this with Robin. Robin actually is a great mayor ally. He is the board member of Hong Kong Entrepreneur. So enough about us. Let's talk about our guests.
Right.
So today we're very excited to have a great guy in the room. Should be funny. I don't know how funny he can be, but we're looking forward to that. Comedian Vivek Mahbubani.
Very close.
Mahbubani, right?
Mahbubani. I keep saying that. So Vivek, very well-known bilingual comedian in Hong Kong. So hi Vivek, how are you doing?
Hello, I'm very good, thank you. Don't worry about the surname. Trust me, even my mom gets it wrong, so it's not your fault.
Yeah, so I guess it would be great for you to tell us in your own words, like you're a great entertainer, you're a leader. Tell us more about yourself.
So I'm a Hong Kong-born Indian ethnicity comedian that performs both in English and Cantonese, and I've been doing this for it's like 18 years now, and it really began just as me just loving comedy on TV, just watching the TV shows like Seinfeld and thinking this is so cool, just talking. I mean, that's the laziest job I can think of. This is something I want to do for the rest of my life. But I had no opportunity, did not know when or where, but I did make a promise to myself saying one day before I die, I'm going to try comedy. And I did not know how or what or where or whatever. All I had was that promise in my mind. And I'd always been writing ideas down, oh, that's pretty interesting. We'll write that down. And eventually in 2007, I saw a comedy competition advertisement and I joined it, loved it, said, this is awesome. Did it as a hobby and it slowly developed into what I do full time now, which is simply holding a mic, entertaining audiences all day.
Wow, that's a dream job. That would be my dream, my girl's dream job.
But there you go.
Well, I watched a lot of your YouTube videos. That was really amazing. And every time I feel unhappy or bored, and then I said, oh, that's great.
Thank you. Good enough.
But you started off in a different career, right? In technology, IT, and you study in the CEO, right?
I don't want to reinforce a stereotype, but being Indian, I was just good at IT. I couldn't help it. I would slap my keyboard, I'd write a program without even trying. It was that good at that, But I was actually in web design and development, and I loved it because when I was in secondary school as a teenager, I encountered this thing called HTML, which is the language that you use for websites, right? And I learned how to do it, and I said, what is this internet thing that I can put this on the internet from my bedroom and the whole world can see this? And I actually love that concept of I can create something in my own little humble little room, and if I put it up here, there's a chance the whole world will want to see it. And that was the concept that I wanted. I wanted to do something like that. So the web design thing became because I was playing online games called Quake 2, which is an online first-person shooter where you join people and you fight and shoot each other. And we had a clan. And I was like, oh, we have to have a website. We're a clan. We're a professional clan, right? And so I made the website and I learned how to make all these different designs. And at the same time, because you play the game, you want to have your own uniform, right? So I learned Photoshop. And all that stuff happened. I love the idea of design and programming. So hence why web design and development was what I did way before comedy. I mean, oddly enough, I still have my website I made myself. So it kind of translates there as well. So yes, IT and then into comedy and now pretty much full-time as an entertainer.
Wow.
But IT is always behind the screen and on keyboard. Now you're in front of audience.
Yeah.
So from what Chinese say, 宅男, right? Always stay home to be on the stage. That's a huge jump.
In a way, but if you really think of it, you really see me on stage for maybe 1 hour a day, and there are 24 hours in total. So there's 23 hours I'm still off that stage. So as much as Lam, it is still there in me. A lot of the comedy is done behind the scenes where you're writing ideas down, you're refining them quietly, or you're going to open mics where there are barely any audience. Before the real big show happens, that's where majority sees me. But behind the scenes, there's a lot of things that's similar to websites where I'm typing on the code, put it onto the website, press submit, and then now the world gets to see it. So it's the same concept, really, just that this time I can see my audience. With the website, you can't really see the audience. So you're hoping people saw the website. With comedy, they definitely saw your show. So you have that difference. But it for me, honestly, it was a good jump, and it forces me to see things differently. At the same time, for example, with comedy, it's such an immediate reaction where if you're not funny, you can't be like, oh, let me go and refine this a bit. No, sorry, the joke's done. They didn't laugh. It's over, right? So that's such a real immediate thing. But at the same time, it's also very authentic. The audience don't have to, as they say, 俾面, like give you any face, because if you're not funny, they're like, I don't know what to laugh at. So if I were a dancer and I'm dancing, everyone's looking at me and I slip a bit, everyone's like, come on, you can do it. Yeah. They're clapping, right? If I'm a comedian and my first joke dies, no one's going to like, next joke might be funny. There's no mercy. But I love that idea that when they laugh, they didn't do it just to be polite. They laughed because it was funny. And that is what I love the most. Much like, let's say, social media, much like, let's say, YouTube videos, people don't need to view your video just to give you, be nice to you. But if you see those views, they wanted to watch your video. So I like that authenticity in what I'm doing now as well.
Wow, pretty brutal to be having a live
absolutely.
audience.
Woo. Let me tell you, that's why, I don't always like my fans all the time. They're like, hey, you didn't laugh, I don't like you, go away,
So you're by nature introvert or extrovert? Because
So I'm majority introverted because I like to be alone. Most of my time, you will see that when very rarely would I give you a call, hey, it's been a long time, let's come out for a drink. I have not called a friend for a drink in I don't know how many years now. Secondly, I think the beauty of comedy or any creative arts, it requires you to digest things in your head. You're stewing, you're thinking of all these ideas before they come out. With an extrovert, you're happy to express the first thought that you have and you're happy to talk to people. So it's never really like boiled in your head to have those weird thinking, that weird thoughts. And I think that's where the introvert me benefits. However, I know how to switch into extrovert mode. Like, for example, right now, as much as I may be an introvert, I was an introvert on my way here. I step in the room and I know the objective here is a podcast. We want to be entertaining. I want to share my story. You are kind enough to give me a chance. I'm going to go extrovert mode. Let's start talking. So I won't be like, yeah, I'm a comedian. Hi, thank you. Yeah, this is what I do. Yes. I won't do that. I know that this is the time to talk to you, connect with you. So I know how to switch. I've worked on that as well.
Actually, on my way here, I forced him to be an extrovert.
And I was. Hey, we didn't stop talking, did we? No, I made sure.
Shut on MTL, so I'm by nature extrovert. So maybe sometimes I even would talk to myself. Yeah.
That's okay. The only difference is that you talk to yourself and you enjoy that as well. I talk to myself in my head, so same thing.
a lot of people actually, they like to label themselves, say, okay, if I'm an introvert, then naturally I won't be very good in communication.
Yeah.
I won't be able to stand up and make a speech, or maybe I won't be a good salesman.
Yeah.
And you just go to good examples that, you don't put that label onto yourself and restrict yourself to for your dream.
I mean, let's be very honest with you. The label is more like a comfort zone where you say, oh, it's not me. See, I am this way, therefore that's not right for me. It's much like, I think Einstein had something similar where he said, if you judge a fish by the way it climbs a tree, you're going to think it's stupid its whole life, right? So when you label a fish as a fish, the fish is like, oh, I don't climb trees. so I won't even try. But if you did not know, you might try to climb the tree and realize, wait a second, no one's actually tried this. In every book, you'll see the 4-minute mile, the idea of you can't do 1 mile running in 4 minutes. And once they did it, all of a sudden, many people could do it. So Jimi Hendrix playing the guitar upside down, another example where he just did not know that the right way is this way. He just saw it, isn't it the guitar? And because you don't have that label and limitation, you're not going to say, oh, I'm an introvert, so all that's not for me. Whereas I never labeled myself an introvert or extrovert. I just said, I have to talk now, so start talking. I don't want to talk now, so I won't talk now. So that way you shatter a lot of preconceived ideas. And I think comedy forces you to have to get outside of that mentality, because comedy is actually making fun of a lot of things we think is normal and showing you how mundane it really is or how silly it really is, right? And making us go like, you're right, I never thought of it that way. And same thing, an introvert can be very annoying as well. Just because they don't talk, they can still be very annoying in their own way. So you have that.
Oh.
Okay, so our show is about leadership. We have to hear your take. As an introvert, what do you think about leadership, or what sort of like style of leadership you think you have?
So leadership to me is very broad. Obviously, everyone's got their own style. But for me, it's someone who has an idea or a vision that's never been really achieved before, but is able to either inspire him or herself to go chase it, or literally inspire people around him or herself to chase it with him, or inspire people around him or herself to go chase it for themselves. So a leader is able to see something pointed when nobody else can see it and somehow say, that's where we're going. So for me, it's always been like that comedy as well. As I said, I made a promise to myself one day before I die, I want to try comedy. There was no comedy scene in Hong Kong. You had to be like Wong Jiwa, Dale Wong before you could even imagine to do a comedy show. I mean, why would someone pay a stranger money to listen to him talk about his life, right? But then you had that idea. I already started writing different ideas down because, again, I used to read a book that once told me, if you have these dreams and everything, you got to start writing it down. It won't just you better be ready for the opportunity when it arrives, right? So for me, I already had a few of these ideas. And when that comedy competition ad showed up, I had these ideas in my repertoire. For example, if you go onto YouTube and you watch this comedy video of when I first started doing a Cantonese set. It's an orange background. You'll see me with a lot of hair on my head. And then I'm doing comedy and I'm joking about how me going to the market to buy stuff. And people look at me and speak to me in weird Cantonese, like 咩嘅中文, hey, 朋友, 朋友. Right? And that was an idea I wrote down way before because I found it very interesting that they would see my face being non-Chinese. And instead of saying the correct word, which is 朋友 for friend, they would call me 朋友. Which the logic doesn't make sense because if I don't speak Cantonese, whether you say 朋友 or 朋友, I don't know what you're saying.
Right.
That didn't help me at all, right? So, but I get the joke is that everyone knows that a lot of foreigners don't hit the tones correctly, so I'm going to mess up the tone to sound like you. So that was the whole thing. But when the show time came, I was like, oh, I have this idea already. I wasn't writing comedy for the competition. I had these ideas ahead. So it's all about how you can execute those things and take what you have and then make the most of it. That's what I say the leader is, really, is someone who can see that and visualize it and say, this is what we're doing and go and achieve it.
It's interesting because a lot of the jokes you make actually can observe from day to day, sorts of a situation.
Yeah.
And most things are always pretty simple, straightforward, and you be able to switch it and convert into something very funny, and have a good message as well. So, I mean, what kind of preparation you need to go through in order to make something very look simple and make you into something very fantastic?
Well, first of all, observation skills. That's one key aspect. I think anyone who's good at what they do spend a lot of time observing quietly and studying other people or themselves as well. Like, why do I do this? For example, one of my classic jokes I have on my Instagram is the idea of happiness in Hong Kong. And the joke is happiness in Hong Kong is when you're alone in the lift and you see your friend is running towards the lift and your hand presses that door close button, right? While the doors are closing, your happiness keeps increasing. You're like, yes, right? You do that, right?
Right.
Now, how did that come about was me taking Lyft one day and going like, why do I love pressing this door close button? Like, I don't love it to press it once. I will press it like that. I'll press it many times. And I would ask myself, why do I press it so many times? And I realized because every press is a proactive action of closing that door faster. And why do I want the door to close faster? Because as long as the doors close, I win. And if someone's running towards the lift and they can't get in, I win even more. Oh, wait a second. So it's a lot of in retrospective thinking where I'm like, why do I feel this way? allowing me to see it on many layers. Instead of me saying, oh, we like to do this because it's fun. It's like, really, is it fun? It's not about fun. It's about me feeling like I beat you. I'm faster than you. I'm better than you. Because in Hong Kong, we're so competitive. In Hong Kong, we have a very weird zero-sum game mentality. Like, if you win means I've got to lose. Like, not really, but that's what we think, right? So if you win means I lose. That means if I win means you lose. So I got to win now. And where are the examples of winning? We'll press the door close button. We'll try to cut in line just in front of the train. All that kind of stuff where you're like, I got the last seat. Haha, right? So these are the small games we play. And I keep writing those down. Like, why do I like grabbing that last seat? Why is it when I take the minibus and I'm lining up and I'm first in the line, I'm not as happy as the second in the line? Because when you're first in line, you feel like you just missed the bus. You're like, I just missed the bus, right? When you're second, you're like, I didn't just miss the bus. The person who's first, you just missed the bus. I'm second. I'm not too bad,
Right.
So all these things, a lot of like self-reflection. And coming down to, I write a journal every day. And a lot of my comedy comes from that, where I will spend, at the end of the day, I will have a journal entry where I talk about, what happened today. And a lot of it's just recapping the day. For example, today I was saying I was doing my work at home, at around 3 o'clock, got ready, headed on out, took the MTR, and I was over there listening to my music, listening to the little podcast. I bumped into Lena over here, and then we started talking, which is no problem. It was only a 10-minute talk, and we started walking. But the good thing is, because I knew I was tight on time, me seeing Lena at the MTR, the train, made me know I'm not going to be late. Because she's one of the hosts. If she's not there, I can't be too late, right?
Likewise,
Right?
I wasn't late.
You're like, all right, I'm good. He's here. He's a guest, so I'm not wrong, right? And then I was relaxing, walking. I'm like, if she's not walking fast, I'm not gonna walk fast. What's the rush? We can't start the podcast anyway. We got on up over here. We're trying to open the doors, and she reads the instruction signs, which simply is a very simple instruction. Whatever your room number is, the last 2 digits, enter this. But I was like, I don't need instructions. I'll tell you how to do things. Let's try this. That's a bell button there. And Lena's all calm. She's like, let me just read the instructions. And I was like, you're right. And she solved it. Opened the door. We went in over here. We quickly sat on down. And there you go. So I'll write that in my journal. And even just now, me recapping what happened, the whole thing, you'll notice a lot of it is me being very honest with myself. That when I did see you on the train, I wasn't like, oh, great to see you. I was like, oh, okay, I guess we got to start talking now, which is okay. That's, human social interaction. But the point is that journal is for me and me to read only, which means I don't have to worry about censoring myself because no one's going to judge me. So I can be very honest about what I was thinking. And as I do that more, I'm actually going deep into why did I do this? Why did I not like that? Why did I not want to read those instructions? Now, I would have normally read those instructions, but because Lena is here, I wanted to show I've done this before. I know how to open doors. Let me show off and let me press that button. And when I messed up, I didn't want to admit that I messed up. And I would try looking at the door. I would doubt, I think we're in the wrong room. Lena's all calm. She's like, let me see what these words above the button say. And she read, it says, last 2 digits of the room. And correct. And that's when I immediately, if you notice, if we recorded that, you will see I was silent. I did not say anything because in my head, I was like, she won. That means I lost. No, I don't want that. You get my point? So that all goes in the journal. So a lot of my comedy comes from that.
Yeah, because there's a lot of, because I also specialize personal growth and career development, and a lot of the benefits all been portrayed about, doing your own journals on a daily basis. And I've been doing that and I find it very useful. For you, do you think that journaling, besides helping yourself, can be applied to other applications or whatever?
Absolutely. Journaling allows you to gather your thoughts. So it's not just muffled in your head and you have to write them out down. Now, on top of writing my journal, what I do is before writing today's entry, I will read an old entry for 2 reasons. Number one, it's just such a good thing to see where you were and where you are. It causes you to see perspective in life. For example, I might read an entry from 15 years ago, thinking, it'd be so cool if I could just travel the world and do comedy, And here I am doing exactly that. And if I were thinking, I'm so tired of traveling, I was at the airport and everything, and I see that entry from 15 years ago where I said, it'll be so cool, I wish one day I could, it would change my perspective now where I'm like, I'm not going to complain about going to the airport. I'm doing what I wish one day I could do. It's giving me perspective,
Right.
making me more grateful for what I have. Number 2, it's also forcing me to be able to put all the ideas on paper, compare where I was, and then read my entry from 15 years ago. Do I still understand what I wrote? Because very often we're so used to saying, I went over there and did this thing. It's like, I don't know what you're talking about. So that forces me to be more clear with everything I'm saying. So from reading my old entries, I see how I express myself. I need to be a bit more clear, learn to listen to myself while I speak. So while I'm talking to you now as well, because of the journal entry and reading and writing, I'm able to gather thoughts in my head and then say them to you without it going like, so we would, my brain has gotten used to the idea of like gather it in a logical fashion and say it out. So this has just helped me a lot.
Right.
Not seem like I'm not sure, as much as I don't have a script memorized. But when I'm speaking to you, I feel after all these years of journal writing, I've developed an ability to seem like, oh, he's got a good proper string of thoughts. He's smooth in his thing. He knows what he's talking about. But the truth is my brain is as blank as yours. It's just as we're speaking, it's making stuff up because I've practiced so much writing journal to gather thoughts and write, gather thoughts and write. So now my brain has got the muscle ready to go.
Oh.
A lot of the comedy or comedian would be very cultural based, right? So being bilingual, like Hong Kong, and like being you're fluent in English, like do you find much of a difference on that cultural shift? Like the Western, like I guess one thing about me and Robin are that we're a bit like 半唐番 too, right? We're both Chinese, but then like live abroad, and so sometimes I find myself speaking Cantonese in the English grammar or vice versa.
Yeah.
And sometimes it can be very Chinglish, So like when you're on stage, of course, you oftentimes would just use one language, I suppose, right? So, but how do you switch that?
So what you'll find is the language itself will change. For example, in Cantonese, we're very literal, very straight to the point, instructive,去嗰度做呢樣嘢, go there, do this thing. In English, when you say it that way, it's like, well, that's a bit rude. You don't have to say it that way. I mean, I'm not your slave, right? But in Cantonese, that's how you say it. So by knowing that, you're able to use not the words, but the tone that you say it at. 去嗰度做嗰啲嘢, when you say it that way, it's like, go there to do that, right? So when you know those nuances, you realize that Cantonese is more about the way you say it rather than the words that you say. So for example, in Cantonese, you say, 咁都俾你諗到. When you say it that way, as in like you thought of that, you can hear from my tone that I wasn't exactly impressed. I was a bit like, you thought of that? Right? So, 咁都俾你諗到 could also, but at the same time, it also depended on the context. Maybe like, whoa, you thought of that? Now in English, it's pretty obvious, right? You thought of that and you thought of that. But in Cantonese, it's like, 咁都俾你諗到. Like, is that a good or bad thing? So I play with the tones a lot, right? Where you have the nuance of saying the word. Ironically, Cantonese, all the 9 tones, you can't say the wrong tone. But here you are playing with the tone of the tone, right? So that's the one thing. Cantonese is different from other languages. It's all about the way you say it.
And how, I mean, you were born in Hong Kong, right? You haven't actually lived abroad, huh?
Not really.
Right?
No.
So you actually, in the school where you were only...
I was one of the 3 or 4 non-Chinese kids.
Yes. That helps you to really understand the cultural differences.
I mean, when I was in primary school, it was tough because my parents don't speak Cantonese. So when I was learning Cantonese, a lot of it was my surroundings, my environment, and also at the same time, just to the tutor, the tutorial center. And over time, because you're surrounded by this language, you pick up on the small nuances, the way you say things, You won't like, oh, it's like, that certain, like, it's like, yeah, you know what I mean, right? So you have that. It's a bit more dramatic like that. So I would say, because of my environment, it's allowed me to absorb the way you say certain things. And the ironic thing is that with that, I can play with my comedy, where I can use that tone, the way people say things, and makes people feel like, I totally get this guy. He's one of us. So that creates another thing where I can play with the Cantonese tone because I was born and raised here. I understand the nuances. I know the feeling that people are going through when, let's say, you're on the escalator and someone's standing in front of you. And like, no one will say, excuse me, but we all hate that person. We're like, but no one's going to say anything because like, I'm a very polite person. I will not say anything, but you should know better than that. Right? So I can see it. I can sense it because I've been living here my whole life.
Oh, interesting.
But when you do the English jokes, right? So obviously we have a lot of people coming to Hong Kong.
Yes.
It's a mix of different culture. Haven't been able to live abroad for more than 2 months.
Right?
The longest was 2 months. How do you pick up all those cultural stuff from overseas then?
So what I find is that because I also watch a lot of English comedy from overseas, I picked up certain nuances. Like growing up, one of my shows I used to watch was Seinfeld. Because back then, that was the only comedy show you could say, or comedian on TV. So Jerry Seinfeld's nuances and the way he would express himself was how I absorbed, oh, that's what English comedy is like. So I watched people like Bill Burr and Kevin Hart, And without realizing it, I'm going to slowly absorb certain things that they do as well. So again, coming to English comedy, because I watched enough English comedy, I kind of have a sense and a feel of what the typical English comedy going audience likes. At the same time, when they come to Asia, it's so refreshing for them to hear different things about, let's say, life in Asia or just life as an Asian person. What's that like? So I'll joke a lot about growing up over here, the expectations of parents, all the way to the small nuances of me trying to fit in and always being the foreigner, but the benefits I get. Like one of my jokes is that, in a way I can have a dual personality. Let's say I'm crossing the road and it's a red light. You should not cross the road, right? And let's say I get caught by the police. That's immediately when I turn to the foreigner. I'm like, I'm sorry, I had no idea. I'm first time in Hong Kong, I'm doing stuff like that. So I can play with that thing. And then the audience is thinking, I do that too, because I can be the foreigner now. Even though I lived in Hong Kong for 20 years, I know when I need to be the foreigner. So you play with that, they can relate to on that level. Whereas the Cantonese audience, it's more about general life, where no one's getting picked out and say, because no one wants to lose face. English shows, when you pick on an audience, they feel like a rock star. So it's a very different game over there as well. But I find, there's a difference over there. But I'm more of a storyteller or comedian. So whether it's English or Cantonese, people are coming into my world or coming into my mind and seeing how I see the world. So it's just I portray it in English or Cantonese for them to hear.
Do you obviously you're a very established entertainer and I can see that you're so polished. Do you always, how do you get into your level? And also, do you become so good by really observing other comedians, or do you have a mentor or somebody who actually guiding you in any way?
So for me, honestly, I don't have an official mentor, as in that person's been the reason why I'm where I'm at. Yeah. But all the books I've read, all the biographies I've read, all the comedians I've learned from watching them. So in the beginning of my career, few things. Number one, there was a book called The Art of the Start by Guy Kawasaki. That was all about startups and starting your own business and stuff like that. And in the whole book, one quote got me where it said, make meaning, not money. And it said, if you do something meaningful, not like community service and charity, but do something that's meaningful to yourself, people will want to support you because they like your meaning behind it. And they like what you're doing and they want to do something like that, but they can't, so they're going to support you so they can see you do it. Much like you would, let's say, your friend is going to run a charity marathon. You can't run it, but hey, you know what? I'll sponsor you. I like what you're doing. So that gave me an idea like, okay, I want to do something that's meaningful to myself. So the comedy came in where I was like, I don't want to be that gimmicky Indian comedian that I speak Cantonese, right? You could in the beginning. I wouldn't lie. In the beginning, I was using that because that's all I knew, right? But after some time, after a while, people like, we know you speak Cantonese. We get it. You're Indian. I get it. Let's get on with this. And the meaning came in like, what's it for me? What am I doing this comedy for? I'm actually talking about my life and the struggles I face. Why do I like using comedy to solve my life? Because I kind of find life is boring otherwise, where we go to work, you press the door close button, whatever. I'm like, yeah, but I get bored in the lift. Like, for example, I used to always question, why is it that when we take the lift, we're always so impressed by the numbers on the lift. It's like the floor, first floor, oh, second floor, oh, third floor, oh, I'm almost there. Like, why are we looking at those numbers? We've seen this every day. We know after 4 will be 5, but yet we get in the lift, we're all looking at that screen. We're like, okay, almost there. These silly things. And that's for me to question. And I would be like, is it just me? Because I think this is stupid. What are we doing over here? So that was my meaning for comedy.
Right.
All right. Then a comedian called Steve Martin, he has a book called Born Standing Up. Very famous comedian, really good. And he had one phrase, be so good they can't ignore you. And that became my mantra of how good I want to be. Because I always knew that as an Indian person, you can't help it. People have expectations, Are you going to tell Indian jokes? You're going to wobble your head and that kind of stuff. But I was like, I want to be so good that even someone who hates Indians will buy a ticket to my show. They're like, oh, but he's so funny, but I really hate Indians, but he's a funny Indian, And the idea was that I want to be so good that they come to me, not I go to them and knock on doors. So that was another motivation for me to say, okay, I want to be so good that even if they don't want to work with me, they have to. And then that gave me another drive. So over the years, I would read books like, let's say, Trevor Noah's Story Born a Crime, where he's born and raised in South Africa, being half black, half white. And I understood the cultural struggles where he couldn't fit in. But he also talked about how people expected him to be a white kid, but he's actually black inside and he could understand all the languages. And I was like, that's me. I was always that Indian kid, but I'm as local as the next Hong Kong guy. So what's wrong over here? I got that. Then I read, let's say, Kevin Hart's book. And I was always wondering, why is Kevin Hart always, doing so many things? And then I realized it because when he was young, his mom wanted to make sure he's never going to be on the streets, doing illegal stuff. So she kept him busy by doing a lot of different activities. And now that's become his standard. I should have a 25-hour schedule every day. And I was like, that's me too. I like the idea of always being so busy because it makes me feel like today's a full day. So all these things added up, Leonardo da Vinci being the person that can do all sorts of things. I was like, I want to be that guy as well. So again, my comedy, ironically, like a lot of my shows, I like to make my own poster. I like to do my own lighting, do my own sound, and do my own shows and write my own stuff. And I was like, that's Leonardo da Vinci. I want to be this all together. And if you ask some of the comedians in Asia, they'll know that my dream is to one day have a comedy show where when the show finishes and you see the credits, it just has one name. Everything was done by Vivek Mahbubani. That's it.
Oh,
Right? I was like, that is so crazy cool. It's crazy, but I was like, wouldn't that be so bizarre? So you see, so all these people influenced me. So it's not a specific mentor, but different people I admired. I'd always try to get the essence of like, what is it that I admire about them? And then say, how can I do something like that?
right.
Yeah, that's the whole thing for me.
Cool. And I just thinking that while you're doing the comedy journey, you must have gone through some tough moments, right?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you said that, when you make a jokes, it doesn't work, and then you stay there. I mean, for me, it's the same when I make a public speaking, and then suddenly I just tongue tie, and I just stand there, everybody's looking at me,
Yeah.
Maybe like share, how you
Absolutely.
overcome all those stage fright.
Every comedian has got plenty of those failed stories of like, this didn't work out, that didn't work out. I'll tell you two that really left a strong impression on me. The first one, if you get bored, you can go on YouTube. Someone's YouTube channel actually has the video of this, okay? So many years ago, when ATV was still a channel on TV in Hong Kong, they had this advertising award ceremony, 廣告頒獎典禮. And they contacted me and said, hey, we'd like you to do some comedy at the award ceremony. And I was like, sure, I mean, great, TV, let's do it, right? And I said, okay, what do I have to do? They said, don't worry, we'll give you the script and everything. And I did not know. I had just started comedy, and I thought, I guess that's how this works. Because in Hong Kong Cantopop, a lot of singers don't write their own songs. They don't write their own lyrics. So I was like, oh, maybe that's how this works here. People write your script for you. This is pretty cool. I just go there to say it. This is fantastic, right? And I'm all like, cool, I'll be on TV. You give me the script when it's ready, da-da-da-da. So the day before, we were supposed to go there for rehearsals, right? And I got the script one day before. And I look at the script, and it's all dad jokes, lan get. And I was like, wait, what? These are all like dad jokes, let's say, well, for example, there was one, 益你多就係 sorry, 士多啤梨味啦，蘋果味啦，咁益你多有咩味啊? And the answer is, 今飲咗未咯? And it's like, what? I'm looking at, right? Primary school jokes. And I was like, what is this? This is junk. This is not me. So I remember going there on rehearsal day before the live screening. And I'm sitting over there thinking, I'm going to talk to the producer and say, hey, this is really not my style. Could you get them to rewrite this? This is not what I do. But I was like, oh, okay, whatever, I went there, and I remember during rehearsal, you could see everyone there barely had any heart in what they were doing. They just wanted to get the job done and go home. And I was like, well, you don't care, I don't care, whatever, right? So that night, I didn't say anything. The next day is a live TV broadcast. I'm in the changing room. I had to wear cheongsam as well, just a comedic effect, right? So I have a cheongsam on. I'm looking at the mirror, looking at the script, thinking to myself, oh my God, I'm actually going to be doing this on live TV in front of a live audience. I hate myself right now. I can't, and I had a moment of thinking like, you know what? What if I just don't follow the script? It's live. What can they do, right? And I thought, well, what if I don't follow the script? Then I'll get in trouble. I don't know what to do. I said, you know what? It is what it is. Let's just do it. They don't care. I don't care. Whatever. I went out there. I followed the script, did those terrible jokes. It's still on YouTube. It's over there. And that moment, I told myself, I hated every moment of that stage time. This was not me. I was a gimmick. I was like a clown. I was this lame little, oh, look at this Indian guy doing Cantonese comedy. And I said, I will never be that. So that was one of my worst moments where I really hated myself before going out there. Looked in the mirror. I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this. Like, I can't believe I sold my soul, basically. So that was terrible. And the kicker is someone else put it on YouTube. It's there. If you literally search 廣告頒獎典禮 AV, and the funny thing is ATV gave me the nickname of 印度達明, as in 張達明. Indian version. I was like, really? Of all people, 張達明? Come on, man. Give me here. So all that added up, and I was like, oh my, I hate this. But it did give me perspective of like, from that day onwards, I made a very clear rule. I will never let someone write my stuff. I always write my own stuff. And if I don't like it, I will speak out, because at the end of the day, I am my own brand. So that was one of the worst, right? The other one I remember, and this is the funny thing, is like I had a bad gig before so I've had gigs where people were always drunk and all that stuff. So I told this organizer, I said, look, I've had lots of shows. One rule of thumb is this. When I'm performing, number one, the MC cannot be drunk, okay? So I don't want the MC, hey, will please, I don't want that. Number two, the audience cannot be eating during the show. See, with comedy, unlike music and let's say singing, you kind of hear a bit, don't hear a bit, it's good. With comedy, if you don't hear certain words, you're like, wait, what is he talking about? What's going on here, right? So that was the rule. Simple, okay? All right. So it's a Cantonese private event at a Chinese banquet hall. The MCs, no, please welcome Avi, right? I go on there. I get the mic and I'm like, hi, 大家好,我係 Avi. I just finished my introduction sentence. The whole ballroom, the lights go off and it's all red color. And I'm thinking to myself, like, fire alarm? What's going on over here, right? Are you serious? I have such bad timing? No. See, it's a Chinese banquet hall, right? Chinese banquet. What is the first dish for a Chinese banquet?
Roast pig?
Suckling
Yeah,
pig.
suckling pig, yeah.
And normally, very often on the suckling pig, you have those flashy eyes, the red flashy eyes. So now the room is flashing red color. All the waiters are coming out with dishes of suckling pig, walking towards every table. Every round table has one waiter with a plate of that fresh suckling pig there, right? They're standing next to the table. They don't serve the food. The audience are looking at the waiter staff like, excuse me, why are you not serving us the food? And the wait staff says, oh, sorry, we can't let you eat the food until this performer finishes talking. And now everyone is looking at me thinking, shut up.
You're standing between the food, right?
It's the first dish. And I was up there, I'm like, why is everyone hating me so much? Like, what did I do wrong? I finished the gig and I asked the organizer, I said, look, I told you no food, right? They said, yeah, you said you can't eat the food. You did not say we can't serve the food. I'm like, all right. So now my new rule is when I'm performing, food cannot move. All right. You can't move it from the kitchen to the table. You can't move it from the table to their mouth. You can't move it from your mouth to your stomach. Okay. No moving of food. That's pretty much it. But that was another bad gig. I was like, what is my doing wrong here? Why am I getting all these weird things happen to me? So that was another bad experience that I remember. But I told myself comedy equals to tragedy plus time. And I said that I'm going to turn to a funny comedy bit one day. I'm going to tell that story and make the most of this. I failed this one, but you know what? This is going to be so funny one day. So again, I try to find empower in that. But yeah, those were two really terrible experiences early in my career.
Wow, great.
You also mentioned a bit about your parents growing up in Hong Kong, you being Indian. Parents, certainly Asian parents, certainly have expectation on the children. And I guess being you putting comedian as your career choice normally isn't the best options that parents want us to choose. How have you been managing that?
So the first thing is, think of it this way. In the early 80s, it was not common for non-Chinese kids to go to Chinese schools in Hong Kong. All right. So the fact that my mom decided to send me to a Chinese school already tells you she was not your typical like follow society, follow the right way. This is the way to live life. She was already willing to go against the norm as long as she believed in it. Now, when I was older, when I went to university and everything, my mom, she once told me, okay, I'll make you a deal. You can do whatever you want. As long as you can prove to me you're giving it your best shot. Now, that sounds easy on paper, right? But how can you prove that you're really doing your best shot, right? So actually, after university, I was a freelance designer. And, freelance means you get a job here, don't get a job that you never know. So the rule was I have to prove to her that I'm doing my best effort to be a freelance designer. So I would have to every month kind of give a report. Okay, there's think about a board of directors. When I have to give them a report, like, this is what's been going on. This is why I had no income this month, but I met 12 clients. We discussed these ideas. Maybe I might get that gig over there. All right, we'll see you next month again, So that was the deal I had. When comedy came, it was never like, oh, I'm going to give up my job and do comedy full time. It was never that. It was just a side thing for fun. Now, the good thing is that even when I was in university or secondary school, I used to like music. And in university, I joined a heavy metal band. And, for fun, play drums, play all that stuff. And fine, do it on the side. I don't care. You do the responsibilities, do whatever you want in your free time. I don't really care. So there was always that leeway. Much like, let's say, like how Google's famous for the 20% time that allows their staff to do whatever they want, experiment. Same with my parents, my mom as well. Like, you do your responsibilities. After that, I don't care what you spend your time doing, as long as you get your responsibilities done. Same with my work. As long as I was legitimately trying to build my business, it did not matter if I had no money to show, but I had to show some sort of progress. And then that allowed them to say, okay, comedy, sure, do it for fun. But I'm the type of guy that if I'm going to do something, I'm not going to do it half-heartedly. I'm going to go all in. So even with comedy, in the beginning, as much as it was a hobby, I would really get obsessed about it. I was like, okay, I need to learn everything about this. What different mics do you use? What's the lighting over here? What's the comedy show? Which venues could potentially do that? And that slowly built over time where I started assessing myself at the end of the month. What's my progress for comedy? So I have this habit of day 10 entry, which on the 10th day of every month, I have to do a self-review where I have to write a whole review of what I've done, where I was, and where I am. So it's a self-assessment that I'm doing. So again, by that time, my mom was like, yeah, he's on autopilot mode. He'll do his own thing, So she could tell I'm progressing. And then here or there, I might get a gig here. I might be on TV here. I might get an interview over there. And it slowly builds up. So the whole time, it wasn't a matter of me just being lucky. The parents were like, yeah, do what you love. I had to be very accountable. At the same time, I had to also make sure that I was proactive, which comes back to another thing. When I go to a lot of schools in Hong Kong about, let's say, career day, I tell kids, I said, there are certain classic books that are classic for a reason. One of my favorite books is The Art of War, right? That's the book half business schools tell you have to read that book anyway, right? That's the book that I encourage a lot of kids read because that book teaches you the strategies of building a business or whatever. Rule number 1, chapter number 1 is you have to plan. Right. So if I want to do comedy, is the plan to be full-time or is the plan to be a hobby? If it's a hobby, then do it, whenever you feel like it. If it's full-time, we got to think like a full-time business now. So same with my parents. If I wanted them to be convinced that I want to be a comedian, I need to present to them. I have to pitch to them. I have to show them that this is the plan. This is the whole thing. So now can we please be on board? Don't waste my time with, complaining to me and stuff. I'm doing my business now. So there's a lot of that together. So it has been tough. I have more pushback from relatives, like my uncles, even after like almost 20 years now, still coming up to me during family dinners. Oh, you still telling jokes? I'm like, yeah, uncle, I'm still telling jokes. And you still won't buy a ticket. So it doesn't matter, right? And it doesn't matter what I'm doing right now. So yeah, you get a lot of pushback. And honestly, the more people judge me or doubt me, the more I love it. Because it shows me they don't really know. And I'm like, okay, that means I'm doing something very different. If they already understood it, then it's been done and done. So what am I doing, new? This is just a standard thing that everybody does. So I love the idea that I'm doing something different.
Now you have obviously demonstrated a good example of making a quantum leap in have a career change and from technical to a complete different profession. And then I talk with a lot of students or even executive or their career transition. They always sort of feel constrained, they say, well, I'm where I am, I'm too old, and then I have no money or I have no support. What kind of advice you might be able to give them saying that, well, in fact, even in Hong Kong now, there are plenty of opportunities if you put your mind to it.
Look, with any book about success and all that stuff, they'll always tell you the same thing, for every one excuse of why you can't do it, I'll show you 10 other examples of why they could. Right. And it all boils down to mindset. There's no excuse over here. If you look at my Spotify list over here and every year they have Spotify Rap, the podcasts I listen to are all those motivational or different people talking about their lives because I want to have someone I admire tell me what they do and make me go like, well, if that's what they're doing, I have no excuse now. So I would tell everyone in Hong Kong, the truth is, if you are willing to take a moment to be honest with yourself, and not come up with excuses because it feels better that I can't blame myself, you will find a lot of times those are excuses, and they are. You know very like, I couldn't go to the gym, because there's no time and everything. You could have gone there for 10 minutes. You could have done push-ups at home. You could have done it. But doing push-ups at home, there's no fun. It's more fun at the gym, not fun at home. Therefore, you didn't want to do them at home, which is very fair. Every time I travel and I go on tour, it happens every single time. Before I go on tour, I make a promise. Okay, this tour, I'm going to exercise while I'm there. I don't want to lose. I've worked so hard at the gym. I'm not going to waste all the muscle I've gained right now, right? And I guarantee, I'm going to be going to Australia in a couple of weeks, right? I guarantee in 3 weeks' time, I'll have all the excuses in the world. I'm in Melbourne. I can't be doing push-ups. I got to have coffee. Come on, I could do push-ups in Hong Kong. All the excuses will come up. And I know that about myself. I try my best, but I'm at the same time like, look, you know what? Fine. I admit it in my journal, here I am giving myself excuses, whatever. So when I come back to Hong Kong in 5 weeks, all chubby and weak, I have no one else to blame but myself. So I tell anyone, if you say you want to do something and you're not doing it, take a moment. The journal is a great thing where you be very honest with yourself. I'm not doing it because I'm scared. No one needs to know that. You wrote it for yourself. Just, I'm scared. That's okay. But then maybe 1 week later, you read and say, am I still scared now? What am I scared about? and you keep digging. It's like therapy, right? Same thing. And I would say, everyone, the journal is a moment of truth for yourself where no one's going to judge you. You say, I don't want to do it because I don't really think I can. For example, I love music. I want to create music. I love playing drums. I had to sell my electronic drum kit because I was like, look, I have no time, no space. I can keep it there and say one day, or keep disappointing myself, or say that chapter in my life is closed. And admit it, it's gone. Give it to someone else. Let them enjoy it. It was fun. I had a good time. That's the end of it. So you have to do those things. Like in the same way, the chapter in my life of doing comedy for, let's say, small little gigs here and there, it's over. And I'm like, look, I have to build my brand and grow. I can no longer just say, I want to do this gig. I'm like, no, I am this level comedian now. I don't do those gigs anymore. I don't go to this club anymore. I'm not with that group of people over there. I've got to let it go. So you just have to be honest with yourself and say, the reason I'm not doing it is because of this. And then admit it.
Great. Thank you very much. Lena, you have any?
I guess we want to wrap up with one last question that we like to ask all our guests. If there's one piece of advice you'd like to give to your younger self, what would that be?
I would say just do it earlier. Like, don't waste your time thinking, oh, you know what, maybe in a month's time I'll be ready for that. Like, in a month's time, you were the same way you were today. So do it earlier. Like I said, if I want to do a certain gig, I could be like, oh, you know what, maybe there'll be my goal for the next year. No. You're going to do it, do it. And then the earlier you do it, the better. Because honestly, at the end of the day, you will think you'll be more ready tomorrow. You probably will not. Something will come up. So I would have told myself, that comedy thing you wanted to do? I wish I started writing comedy earlier. The social media thing you wanted to do? I wish I started doing social media earlier as well. So I would say just do it earlier.
All right. We should have interviewed you earlier then. Yes.
Well, it's been very inspiring, Vivek. I think me and Lena is very thankful for you to give such positive messages, and we hopefully can use this podcast to benefit a lot more people.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me. Really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
Thank you.